I am here with a message. You are not your title. You are so much more than your title. You are so much more than the job description that defines you. And I want to talk about that today on the Underdog Leadership Podcast. So wherever you're catching me, whether it's in your car or you're prepping your dinner or whatever, I want you to think about what your title is. Okay, so in the corporate world, what's on your business card? In the entrepreneur world, how do you describe yourselves? And I just find it fascinating that people sort of by default begin defining themselves by what that says. I am VP of blah, 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 right? Or I am the CEO of XYZ, or, I'm the direct development associate or the business development person for XYZ. What I get really interested in is why you do the work you do. And more importantly, nobody gets to define who you are from an external source. And that's really my message on this day's podcast. It's funny. As I was preparing, first I got really excited and then I got really mad. I'm like, how dare they define me through a bunch of words on a business card? And I really wanted to bring in a couple topics for today to talk about. Number one, the only person who is ever going to have your best interests always in mind, dun, 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 is you. It is your job to elevate yourself. It is your job to bring your very best person, very best self, very best experience to work every single day. And, that aspiration to be better, this fits so nicely into the underdog leadership themes, because no matter what happens around you, no matter what kind of craziness is going on at the office or in your shop or whatever, you have full sovereignty on how you show up. And that's why I say you are so much more than just your title, just the VP, just the harbinger of opportunity and all those things. And I really want to impress upon you in this podcast the commitment to aspiring to be better, to be improving. That expression, when you know better, you do better. I'm not talking about going backwards and all the things you did wrong along the way. I'm talking about consciously making the choice every day at work to step forward, to improve, to ask for feed forward, to seek feedback from people around you so you can continue to improve. That learner versus judger mindset really makes a difference. And this might be my most inspirational podcast yet. The judger walks around and says, well, I told you that wasn't going to work. The judger walks around and says, well, why bother? Nothing changes anyway. I mean, that systemic problem's been there since XYZ. The learner turns around and says, well, where can I make a change? Where can I make a small shift, a small improvement? It's like, in our offices, we have these dances that we take. I've been talking about this a lot with some of my coaching clients. Everybody knows the dance. We all step into the dance, whether that's your meeting dance or your one-on-one dance or whatever. It's like, I have this great desire to blow it all up, like really blow it all up. But acknowledging that there is this dance that we're all pre-programmed to do. This is what's expected of a direct report. This is what's expected, right? I love that idea of like, blowing it up and changing it and inviting someone into a different kind of dance. You do have sovereignty over that. You do have choice on that. And if these meetings, if these things aren't serving you, say something. Now, I want to clarify here. I'm not talking about going to your boss and saying, you run a terrible meeting or XYZ. Coming to your boss or coming to your board or whoever your leadership team is and saying, I want to try something different in the pursuit of excellence. And I guarantee you folks, the minute you add on in the pursuit of excellence, you will have their attention. Are we not all aspiring for better? When we talk about high performance teams, when we talk about what we aspire to, when we set expectations for that team and how we're going to treat each other and what results we're going to get together, that's when that accountability kicks in among the group. And that's when we all begin to elevate and uplift. Now that word uplift, it's a powerful word. It is by choice that I called my group program, my group mastermind is called Uplift Leadership. And there's a reason for that. We were meant to do this together. You are not built to be alone. You are not built to figure this out in your little silo. And if you stay in one place, one job, how are you supposed to know what the world has to offer in other workplaces across the world and maybe across the globe? And that's why I believe that in order to uplift, you must become vulnerable. You must try. I know we don't want to become vulnerable. I get that. But we must try things, and we must accept that sometimes they're going to flop on our faces when we try these new things. And I just want to say out loud on this podcast, I am the kind of person that doesn't like to suck at things. For some reason, I have this unrealistic behavior or belief that when I try something like, I don't know, climbing a rock wall or riding a bike or doing something I've never done before, like maybe it was write a briefing note or a strategic plan, some of these things I've done in the past, that I thought it had to be perfect right away. Can you see how redonkulous that is now? Now, what are my choices? What can I do so that I am not defined by my identity of my title? Because if you did define yourself by your title, you'd be like, well, I'm just a blank, blank, blank. So that's not in my domain. Or I'm just a administrative assistant. So that's really not my job description. Versus, how can I lean into the opportunities I'm having now so that I can continue to elevate and wait for it, uplift my presence, we talk about executive presence. That's a kind of a funny word to me, executive presence. What do they mean? I think for me, that word means personal power. How can I have broad shoulders, big elbows, and a massively kind, compassionate heart in the office, in the corporate space, so that I can be all of what I want to be, not just a job description, just a title. Those of you that love planning and structure, you're probably all squirming in your seats right now, because for many of us, we like things in boxes. We like structure because it gives us a sense of safety, a sense of control. So I want to honor, though. I remember one of my clients, and I love her dearly. Oh my goodness, she's one of my faves. And she would always never step forward until she had a plan. She had it written out. She had it mapped and whatnot. And what happened at her work was the demands on the job became so big, the vision and the need, because we work in fundraising, or if you're in the corporate world, the scope of the business model, the scope of the business needs grew so much. You kind of had to throw out the old ways you did things, and you've got to bring these new ways forward. And so here she was paddling without a map, finding new paths without a map, and kind of working backwards to backfill some of those things that she was missing. I'm not talking about fundamentals, but I am talking about the landscape changing so fast that you cannot have the map of the next day until the next day becomes. And I know I've been thinking a lot about that in my own business as well, this concept of leap before you're ready. You are never going to have it all figured out. Your capital campaign that you're planning is never going to go exactly how you've written it down. Your vision, your steps to get to that next leadership job that you deeply desire is not a linear process, people. Gosh, I wish it was. I wish I could sit here and you say, you do this, this, and this. But the belief starts from inside, from knowing that you are more than the job you do at work. And here's another kicker. Here's another clincher for you. You are actually your own best teacher. Let me explain what I mean by that. You know, you do. I swear, you know what is best for you. We have been taught this bill of goods that if we do this thing, this checkbox, this list, this title, this whatever, then X, Y, and Z will happen. And maybe you're one of the lucky ones. But I have spent a lot of years unpacking, unlearning a lot of things that society, the world, the workforce, the corporate environment with its sort of boxy kind of experience has put on me. And this is what I know. in my whispers, in my heart of hearts, in my tummy, I know what's best for me. And all I really have to do is slow down long enough to listen. Kicker, isn't it, eh? If you've been listening to the podcast, I'm not sure if it's coming up or it's just happened, but I had a wonderful conversation with Tammy Zonker about the lost art of listening. We have been sold this bill of goods that if we move fast, if we move files around, paperwork flies, people get promoted, XYZ, that mission will happen. But let's not forget about the mission of us, the mission of the people that we interact with. How can we move our work from transactional to relational? And you're going to hear more about that from me on this upcoming podcast, because it's becoming a bit of an epidemic in our world, in our corporate worlds and in our not-for-profit worlds. Just find me the money. Just go build the business model. Don't put any humanity in there. We don't have time for humanity, right? So on the theme of this, do it for yourself. Don't do it just for your performance review. I mean, performance reviews have become this sort of add-on, haven't they? This sort of like, and one more thing I need to do for somebody else. Unless you're in a shop, and if you're in a shop where performance reviews are integral to your work and they are aligned with your goals and you really feel they're adding value, I would love to hear from you, Jenny@Chavender.com, because I love to explore that. Because in most of my experiences, there's the high level corporate requirements, and then there's, by the way, we're supposed to do these HR things. And I ask the question, why? Why can't they be completely aligned and integrated? So when you get to that performance review or those aspirations, or forget all that, what do you want? And do it for you. I know as an entrepreneur, what I envision, what I model, what I write down, what I journal about, those are the things that come to fruition, not the tasks, right? The tasks are the how-to. The why is the part that keeps us coming back. So let's just bring this back to underdog behaviors for a second. Underdogs are really good at championing other people, other people's visions, other people's ideas, other people's dreams to become VP, other people's dreams to lead an organization, to write a book, to cross over Lake Ontario swimming. I don't know where that came from. Must have been something I read. All of these aspirational goals for others. And my invitation for you today is, when was the last time you championed yourself, your dreams, your vision? You don't take anything away from anyone else when you show up with your own vision and your own invitation at the table. Remember, there's enough room, there's enough oxygen, there's enough love for everybody's vision. So don't think it's an or proposition. I either can champion them or champion me. Let's talk about a world where underdogs can champion themselves and support the visions of others. Those are not mutually exclusive, right? That is a world I want to talk about. And in closing here, I'd like to pick up the idea of leading from the middle. That same idea of I'm just a middle manager. That's going to be like the quote. I can just see it now. We're going to have this Jenny going, I'm just a. That's like going to be my TikTok reel. Oh God, help me now. So, when you talk about this leading from the middle, maybe you feel like you don't have the decision power. And I'd like you to ask yourself, is that true? Have I been told that categorically? Or is that a story or narrative that I'm hiding behind? Because that's what I see a lot of in this middle management space. Your title is not your identity. And beware of hiding. Or just maybe a better, softer way of saying it is, notice when it's happening. Notice when you're not putting your hand up to say, I'd love to do more on this. This is a file I'm really passionate about. Could I support you? XYZ in this initiative. Do you see how that is about leading from the middle? And leading from the middle actually feels a lot like being a fundraiser, because We don't coerce anyone into doing anything. Just for the record, for those of you that don't work in the philanthropy space, I've never strong-armed a gift. I know many people think that's what we do all day. But what we do, and this is how leading from the middle, we don't have a big stick. We don't have a, I can fire you if you don't give me that gift. Wouldn't that be funny? I'll keep out an oxymoron. But from leading from the middle is all about using your influence, using your presence, using your voice, using your personal power to make change happen, or to shift systems, or to change an inequity that you see. And so when you abdicate, that's on you. When you abdicate your personal power. And as you're listening, maybe you want to press pause on this recording right now. Journal, think about, is there a place in my life where I'm abdicating personal power, where I'm giving up before I even try? Because that, my dear listeners, is on you. You are so much more than your title. You are so much more than the bullet points attached, the tasks that you do. You are a whole, living, breathing entity with a passion, with drive, with ideas, with creativity. And I'm inspiring and inviting you to bring your whole, entire, gorgeous, messy self to work. And the only person that can decide to do that is you. You are so much more. Get in touch with that, and let's find out what that feels like for you.